It's easy to trust God when everything's going awesome. And 5 years ago, almost to this exact day, we were on the back of a trip to Africa, a tour. It was incredible. God had been doing amazing things. And life was awesome. And I decided to come to New York City just to meet up with a friend and spend a few days just resting and hanging out. Had an amazing time. And on the last night of the trip, I was walking just through the city as you do, and out of nowhere, as it happens here, this storm hits and it's pouring with rain, and I went and hid under an awning, the nearest thing I could find. I couldn't get a taxi, I couldn't find anyone around, so I didn't know what to do. So I started praying, and I turned around and looked at this wall, and I read these words engraved into this wall, and it was the words of William Booth. And it's this great quote that just finishes, "While there remains one dark soul, I'll fight." And God spoke to me, and I remember going home that night, and the next morning waking up. I was about to fly back to Australia, and walking through the streets of Soho, where I now live, and literally every single person that I saw, no matter who they were, no matter what they were doing, I just imagined them having a home in this city that they could call church. And I knew God spoke to me, and it was an easy decision to make. I went back to Australia knowing that we were going to start a church here. You know, it was fine. 2 years later, fast forward, and you know, we stepped out, we took the leap, and we came to New York City, Carl, Laura, and myself, and we started this little church. And you know, everything was amazing. On the outside, everything was fantastic. But to be honest, at that time, I had the veneer up. You know, I'd been carrying things for a long time. I'd been doing the best I could, but inside I was dying. And I was stepping into new territory and stepping into this new place, but I didn't even know where God was. And I remember in that moment I had to make a decision again. I was lonely. I've been crying out to God as a single man for a long time. I was exhausted spiritually, physically, emotionally. I was completely done. I had nothing. And I had to make a choice, because I knew God was in what was happening here in the church, but I wasn't sure God was in my calling anymore. And my voice, I started losing my voice. I couldn't sing. I would get anxious every time I had to get on a platform. And it was an extremely hard time, difficult time. And I had to make a decision. My heart was running, my flesh was sinking. I didn't know where God was, but I remember walking through the streets of Brooklyn one morning, not sure what I was going to do, and I just felt God said, "Do you trust me? Do you trust me?" And to be honest, I didn't know if I did. I mean, I'd seen God do amazing things my entire life. He'd been faithful in seasons time and time again, but I just didn't know if I could do it anymore. I didn't know if God wanted me to do it anymore. I didn't know where He was. And I remember in that moment, I was just reminded of just how faithful God has been my entire life. I could tell you story after story. God makes a whole lot more sense in hindsight than He does sometimes looking forward.
That's right.
But fast forward 3 years later, I have never been more passionate about the cause of Jesus Christ in my entire life. I am married to the most incredible, beautiful wife. I get to serve God in the greatest city on earth with my best friends. I'm passionate about the church. I'm passionate about what God's called me to do, and I'm okay. And 6 weeks ago, my beautiful baby son came into the world. His name is Zion Alexander Charles Houston. And it doesn't make any sense outside of the scandalous nature of God's grace. But when I look back through every season, through every trial, through every storm, I see God's sovereign hand at work, moving all the pieces. He never leaves us. He never forsakes us. And I'm here to testify tonight that He's never failed me. He's never failed you, and He's not going to start now. That's why I decided to follow Jesus.
Take me deeper than my
inside my state.